Inside the courtroom, Diana Cullum stood before a judge in an orange jumpsuit with visible stab wounds marking her arms as she was formally charged in the death of her 4-year-old son, Finley. Her husband, a dentist at Crescent Lake Family Dentistry in St. Pete, watched silently and at one point covering his mouth as the charges were read.
So, ma'am, you have attorneys that are present here for you. So I have reviewed this statement. I'm going to find that probable cause does exist for her detention.
Police say it all began in this Shore Acres neighborhood Tuesday afternoon when officers responded to a call about a person bleeding at this home on Tanglewood Drive. Investigators say the teenage daughter had just came home from school and found her mother holding her 4-year-old brother in bed. The mother was taken to the hospital with multiple lacerations, which investigators later determined were self-inflicted. An autopsy revealed Cullum suffocated her son.
At this time, bond's going to remain set at no bond. State, were you asking for any conditions on bond?
The condition is we would be asking for no contact with the 16-year-old daughter.
Police have not revealed a motive, but did say the mother left a note and did not reveal any details of that note. Reporting in St. Pete, I'm George MacArthur, 8 on your side.
Bond accused of the unthinkable. She's charged with first-degree murder in her 4-year-old son's death. St. Pete police say the boy's 16-year-old sister got home from school yesterday and found her mother, Diana Cullum, holding her brother in a bed. But there was also blood throughout the house. Cullum made her first appearance in court this afternoon, and Fox 13's Kaylee Tracy has the details, which we do want to warn you are disturbing.
A judge told an expressionless Diana Cullum she will stay in jail under no bond and that she can't have any contact with her 16-year-old daughter, the one who made that gruesome, horrific discovery. Cullum's husband, Dr. Damian Cullum, sat in the front row of the courtroom with 3 others who were all visibly emotional. He held his head in his hands and covered his mouth at times. Police and court records say Diana Cullum suffocated 4-year-old Finley Cullum with a plastic bag. Diana Cullum has self-inflicted stab wounds, police say, that were visible on her arms in court Wednesday. Investigators say the daughter found a knife and a note at the home on Tanglewood Drive Northeast. They believe Diana Cullum wrote the note, but haven't said what was in it. During her court appearance, she stood emotionless, with her arms crossed as the judge spoke to her.
I'm going to indicate to you that you're not to have any contact with your daughter. She's involved in this case. So no contact means no contact. You're not called, text, write, no contact whatsoever until further order of the court.
Investigators say Dr. Cullum, who owns Crescent Lake Family Dentistry, was not home at the time of the incident. The office's website says Diana helped her husband open the dentistry. It goes on to say the couple have, quote, 4 wonderful children, and that in her free time, she loves to spend time with friends and family, time with God, business ventures, and charity work. Police say there's no history of officers responding to that home. Diana Cullum's attorney, Kevin Hazlett, says he and the family have no comment right now.
Ooh, y'all, this YT mama done lost her goddamn mind. On January 27th, Diana called home. Her daughter came home, her 6-year-old daughter came home and saw her mama on the bed sitting on her brother. He was a 4-year-old little boy. And she was covered in blood. Not the blood of Jesus. The 6-year-old daughter said it wasn't just on her, it was on her, him, and everywhere. Like it was a whole scene, a whole massacre, it looked like.
The young lady also said she found a note in the house.
So the police, they showed up to 1760 Tanglewood Drive. That's where they saw the little boy, little 4-year-old Finley Collin, unalived. And that's where they saw the little 4-year-old Finley Cullum unalived with his mama covered in. That's when they noticed too that that wasn't the baby blood, that was hers. She had self-inflicted wounds on her. She did that shit to herself, so they had to take her to the hospital first. They took her to the hospital, and straight from the hospital, they took her white ass to jail. The autopsy did determine that the little boy was unalive due to suffocation. I don't know if she sat on him or what the hell she did, but that's exactly what she did. I'm gonna try to keep y'all updated. These mamas these days, it don't matter what color it is, they all done lost their goddamn minds.
Can you imagine being 16 years old, coming home from school, finding blood all over your home, seeing your brother no longer breathing, and your mom with multiple stab wounds? So yesterday in St. Petersburg, Florida, around 3:30, a 16-year-old went home and ended up seeing her brother who was no longer breathing. Now, they originally said her 4-year-old brother Joseph was stabbed. They later did determine he was actually suffocated with what they believe was a bag. She also found her mother, who is 43-year-old Diana, who had stab wounds all over her, blood everywhere. She calls 911. They get to the home on Tanglewood Drive, and they take the mom to the hospital, question her, and then end up arresting her and charging her with first-degree murder. Now, after the medical examiner was able to examine 4-year-old Joseph, it was determined that he was actually suffocated and no stab wounds were on his body. Now, they have not been able to determine yet if those stab wounds on Diana's body were actually self-inflicted. Of course, they are still investigating that. But they did find a note at the home, and there has been some concerns about her mental health history that has not yet been disclosed, but is under investigation at this time. She is due in court later this afternoon, so hopefully we will get some more details as to what really happened and led to her being accused of taking the life of her 4-year-old son and then stabbing herself multiple times. My heart goes out to the family and the friends at this time. They are dealing with the loss of 4-year-old Joseph, especially to his 16-year-old sister coming home from school to find that situation, which I am positive was nothing but chaotic.
43-year-old woman, Diana Collin, was arrested on Tuesday for a gruesome crime. Her 16-year-old daughter came home from school at Tanglewood Drive Northwest at 3:30 p.m. The 6-year-old found her mother holding her 4-year-old brother in her arms while sitting in the bed. The 6-year-old said that Finley was dead and that Diana had self-inflicted stab wounds. The 6-year-old found a knife and a note that her mother had written. So on Wednesday at 2 a.m., Diana was taken to to Pinellas County Jail at 2 a.m. So they did an autopsy on Finley, and instead of like stab wounds like the sister thought, because when she walked in the room, she just saw blood everywhere. So the autopsy said Finley was suffocated. So she suffocated her 4-year-old son. So her first court appearance was Wednesday. I don't know if it was that same day or next Wednesday, the Wednesday after that Wednesday, but it was on a Wednesday. And the judge didn't give her no bail, and she wasn't allowed to contact her 16-year-old daughter. Her husband, Damien, put their house on Zillow, and it's worth $1.3 million. And I feel bad. I feel bad for the daughter and the father that they have to go through this. But hell, what do I know? I'm just a talking head.
She suffocated her 4-year-old with a plastic bag. This is 43-year-old Diane Cullum of Florida. Her 16-year-old had returned home from school to find blood as soon as she entered the door, a trail of blood. She followed this to the upstairs bedroom where she found Diane holding her 4-year-old son, and he was completely limp. Of course, the authorities were called, and once they got there, they were able to realize that the blood was coming from Diane, not from the little boy. She apparently had many self-inflicted stab wounds all over her body. However, none of them were life-threatening. Now, the medical examiner did determine that the 4-year-old Finley did die from suffocation, and that this did happen from use of a plastic bag. Police also found a note in the home, but they did not disclose what was in the note. And here's the thing, Diane was not under the influence of drugs or alcohol. She had not had any mental health issues that anybody was aware of. Her and her husband had 4 kids together. Her husband, Damien, is a scientist in St. Petersburg. She was a broker. The only odd thing to really present itself is that the Sunday before this happened, their $1.3 million home was listed on Zillow. The investigation still remains active, and she's still being held with no bond.
A mother from St. Petersburg, Florida has been arrested and charged with murder after she suffocated her 4-year-old son. On January 27, 2026, a 16-year-old girl had returned home from school around 3:30 and found her mother, 43-year-old Diana Cullum, in bed holding her unresponsive brother, 4-year-old Finley Cullum. Upon discovering this scene, the teen immediately called 911. Officers ended up responding to the residence on the 1700th block of Tanglewood Drive Northeast a few minutes later and saw the horrifying scene. There was reportedly blood everywhere as Diana had inflicted injuries upon herself after taking Finley's life. There was also a note left behind by Diana. Police noted that she had multiple puncture wounds to her body, but they were superficial for the most part. They were serious but not life-threatening. Unfortunately, Finley was pronounced dead. After a brief stay at a nearby hospital, Diana was arrested and officially taken into custody and charged with first-degree murder. According to court records, Diana had taken Finley's life by using a plastic bag. When she made her first court appearance on Wednesday, January 28, 2026, the wounds were visible on her arms, and a judge told her that she was going to remain in jail without bond. He also advised that she have no contact with her daughter or her other children. Diana was said to have been expressionless the entire court proceeding. Meanwhile, her husband, Dr. Damien Cullum, and the father to her children, was sitting in the front row of the courtroom, visibly upset and emotional. Investigators said that Dr. Damien Cullum, who owns Crescent Lake Family Dentistry, was not home at the time of the incident. The office's website says that Diana helped her husband open the dentistry and she oversaw the construction and renovation of the building that it's in. Diana was discovered to have gone to college for business and later got her real estate license. She owned and operated her own consulting and brokerage firm, selling businesses and franchises throughout Florida and the U.S. Her goal for the dentistry that she opened up with her husband was to provide a warm and inviting atmosphere, making patients feel at ease while receiving top-notch personalized quality care. She and Dr. Cullum are said to have 4 children together, that is including Finley, who is now passed. The chief of police said that they have not been dispatched to the home in the past, and those who knew Diana said that they are completely shocked to find out that she had done this to her son. They say that this is not the woman that they know, and they're wondering what could have went wrong, what she was dealing with in order for this to have happened. In the state of Florida, a conviction of first-degree murder carries 2 penalties, either life in prison or the DP. I do think that there are going to be some questions here when it comes to her sanity and competence, as many people seem to believe that she is not in the right state of mind now, nor was she at the time of the incident. What do you guys think is an appropriate sentence for something like this? Let me know in the comments. My thoughts and prayers are with Finley's family members at this time.